All right, everyone, welcome back. So, I've got a very special guest today. For those of you that saw the last episode that I had with Greg Elfrink, the director of marketing for Empire Flippers, we specifically spoke about what he thinks are one of the best businesses to start and sell, not just in 2026, but the next 3, 5, 10 years. And ironically, he said marketing agencies, which surprisingly to many of the marketing agency owners that I've personally known, it seems that there's this common misconception that it's really difficult to build and sell and scale a marketing agency where you can become a passive owner. So very excited today to have Luke Eggebraaten, who has not only built a 7-figure marketing agency, but has also built a team to be able to help run the business for him, which has allowed him to take 2 months off with his wife to allow them to travel all over the world while letting the business run. And so I'm very excited to have Luke today to talk about what it took to grow his agency, build his team, and get it to a point where he can have the flexibility to take 2 months off while running the business. So welcome today, Luke, to the podcast. Excited to have you on. Can you quickly tell us a little bit more about where you got started and what your background is and just your whole journey with the agency?
Absolutely. Brady, thank you for having me on. And for anyone listening, it is great to be here. I couldn't be more excited to dive in a little bit further. Brady, you and I are great friends. So I feel like we talk business all the time. We just don't record it. So I think this will be a really fun episode. A little bit about me. I grew up in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, and that's where my wife and I are both from. My wife's from Holly, Minnesota. And then we lived in Nebraska for a section of our life. So when I graduated from college, my wife had already been going to University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And so she went to go get her master's degree at Master's of Business in Omaha. And I decided to move to Omaha as well. So went to, she had lived in Nebraska in total for about 7 years. And then I had lived there for about 3 years. But backing up a little bit, when we did move there, got a job right outside of college, got a job at a orthodontic practice, basically just to be their, air quotes, marketing guy. But I also worked with a lot of new patients, and really to give some clarity, I graduated with a sport management degree. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I think I learned quick that I'm more of a fan of sports than enjoying working in them. I thought it was really cool, but just long term, I just didn't see it being a good fit for us. So transitioned a little bit for what I was looking for into more of the, maybe event managing or maybe marketing, maybe promotions, things like that. And so took this opportunity at a company called Braces Omaha in Omaha, Nebraska. And my boss, Dr. Stevens, took me in. And what was really cool is it was a very small office. So there's only 5 of us. So I was the only one doing any sort of marketing, really, in terms of digital marketing. And what was really great about Dr. Stevens is that he had hired a marketing agency that was based out in California, and their name was New Volume, and they focused in orthodontic marketing. And so what I really got to do is be the liaison between New Volume and our practice, and really see the ins and outs of what they're doing. And what I quickly realized is that we were paying them a lot of money, and we were happy to do so because the value we were getting on our money spent was way more than we could have ever imagined. The second thing is they were so personable, and I just loved working with them. I felt like they were my friends. I had still never met them in person, but huge shout out to them. I was just like, man, it is so cool to work with people I truly enjoy working with, but they're fully remote.
Mm-hmm.
And then the big third thing there was they made my life a lot easier. They made me look good. They made our company look good, the practice. And with those 3 things, I just looked at it and thought, I should start one of these on my own. And basically 1 year into starting with Braces Omaha, started my own agency, Phaser Marketing, on the side, and continued to work at the orthodontic practice until 2021, when my wife got a job in Arizona, moved us out to the desert, and that's when I took the leap to take Phaser full time.
Awesome. That's so exciting. So I want to kind of go like early on because there's a lot of misconceptions for people who are starting online businesses or maybe want to take the risk and start that side hustle or take the leap of faith and start something. So tell us more about like where you felt skill wise you were when you first started Vaser marketing as a side hustle, because you've done a little bit of marketing, but like, where was your confidence level at? How are you learning? Like, tell us more about how you kind of like got things started and what resources you're maybe looking into.
Yeah, it's a great question because my skill wasn't a technician. I never built the website. I'd never done any graphic design. I would say I had a good eye for marketing, but I enjoyed business more than anything. And I didn't really know what business was, but I knew if you bought something for more or bought something and sold it for more, there was a profit. And then so I was into flipping things on Craigslist, and I was like, man, this is pretty cool. You can kind of go out of the cave, kill something, and bring it back home, and that's money and an opportunity. And so marketing was a great vehicle for me because I felt like I was with the times. I enjoyed my personal social media on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I liked to, I guess you could say, grow my personal brand before I knew what that even was. And where my skill level was then was, in my opinion, to build a team and to take this, air quotes again, big leap of faith, which really wasn't that big at all. It was just confidence in saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start it on the side. Here's the name, and we're going to roll with it. And a couple big keys that really helped me when just starting out. So starting out, it was going to be LE Marketing, which stood for Luke Eggebraaten Marketing. I was going to be the guy. I was going to learn through YouTube and HubSpot how to do SEO, web design, graphic design, paid ads, all of it. And I would come in and I was going to walk in and the one-man show that could do it all. I just thought that would be so cool and the right path to our business. And I didn't know any different. And until I read The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. And for anyone listening that hasn't read it yet, no matter what stage you're at in business, give it a read. I would say it changed my life, but it changed our business entirely. So luckily, I read that before we even started. So I scrapped the name LE Marketing, and created a business name, which would be Vaser Marketing, something that we could build into that wasn't directly associated with Luke, but could grow to be bigger than just me. And what I learned from the book is that you can pay people that are really good at what they do, and they do it for fun, and they make money, and you can make money. And my job then became, okay, I need to go get some work. Let's try and get some clients. But really what I did was I sourced through usually Upwork.com or Fiverr, and I'd find somebody that was maybe based in the US that could build websites. And I'd reach out to them and say, hey, my name's Luke. I'm pretty new at this. I own a company called Vaser Marketing. We're going to build websites for people. Is that something you could help me with? And they'd say, yep. And I'd say, okay, if I sold it for $3,600 and I paid you $1,200, would that work for you? Yep, that sounds great, Luke. That's typically within the range. Let's do it. And I would kind of have those people, this team, on standby because we didn't have any work either. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I can still work full time at Braces Omaha and have a salary, but then I can start to learn the ins and outs of like, how do I get clients? And so you'd post through social media, you'd do some outreach, you'd figure that out. And then when we got a client, let's say the first client, I'll just tell you exactly what it was. It was a real estate company, and they're going to pay us $800 per month, monthly recurring revenue, to do all of their social media, website, SEO, paid ads, everything. And what I knew in my head is that I just needed to spend less than $800. So I didn't have any investors. I didn't have any debt. I didn't need any of that. And as you fast forward to today, I still don't have debt. I still don't have investors. I don't need any of that. And I think I just had to get in that mindset where you just got to start. You got to put that first foot forward. You got to pull the boat closer to the dock before taking that giant leap of faith across the shark-infested waters, especially in the digital age. And that's my opinion. I think there's so much we can do on the nights, weekends, and your lunch break. And until you've exhausted those efforts, I don't think you should fully quit your job if you're at a really great job like I was at the time.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that there. I mean, I think a lot of people want to get in a rush or they feel like they either need to quit and start or it's like this whole thing, but you can start on the side and still dedicate 10, 15, 20 hours a week while still working your full-time job. Like the full-time job is definitely a really great safety net to have. You don't have to pick one or the other, but I totally agree with you. Like it's so viable to start as a side hustle. I don't think many people need to or credit that out. Like everyone should at least consider starting as a side hustle. Like definitely the lowest risk way to do it. Well, Luke, just quickly, like you started what was the first year you started as the side hustle?
Yeah, so the day, October 24th, 2019, I got the LLC papers back. We got our logo, the PM logo, and that was the first day. We got our first client in February 2020, and then got our third in April 2020. Sorry, our second client in April 2020.
So it's been basically 6 years now, almost 6 years.
Yeah.
Tell us how, I guess numbers wise, tell us what it's looked like from year 1 to year 6 and how quickly you've seen the growth and how fast your team's grown.
Yeah, I'll do it this way. I'll do from year 1 to year 6, and then I'll go back a little bit because it'll make more sense when you look under the blanket. So when we first started, year 1, we did $30,000, and this is 2020, not 2019. So the year 1 in 2020, we did $30,000 in revenue. The next year we did 100,000. The next year we did 300,000. The next year we did 750. Last year we did 1.1, and this year we're on track for about 1.5. And the reason I tell that or show that is to show that it may look like on the outside that we've just skyrocketed, but it's been pretty consistent. And that's how I would prefer to build. Obviously, the more growth, we'll take it, but there's a lot that goes on when building a business. So making sure that we weren't too far ahead of our skis and that we could handle it has been super important for me. So a lot of it's been organic. A lot of it has been referrals, our own social media organically. And we're just now starting to get into the scaling phase of, okay, can we get to 3 million next year and double with where we're at currently? Because now in 2019 to about 2024, we use all contracts. So all contracted labor, subcontractors, white label. I really loved that structure because I could have anyone of any skill level at any time, as long as they trusted me and I'd pay them, which I would, of course, do. And when we crossed 7 figures, so we hit 83K monthly recurring revenue in March of 2024. And when we hit that, we had 1 full-time employee and myself, and then everything else was contracted through white label and contractors. So when we hit that mark, it was a big goal of mine to start to bring it in-house, to improve margins, to improve deliverability, to improve quality, and just have more control over what we're doing. And since March of 2024, now fast forward to Q4 2025, towards the end of the year, we now have 18 full-time team members and 3 contractors. So we've kind of done a full shift, but also our margins have improved, our deliverability has improved, and the quality of what we're doing has improved for our industry.
Man, there's a lot to unfold here. Not only have you achieved massive revenue goals and so much growth in the first 5-6 years, but you've also built an incredible team. You've moved most of your operations, if not all of them, from white labeling to in-house. And what I think is the hardest as a business owner, you've created the ability to actually step away from the business and let your team run everything for you. I want to start with the third one because I think that's the biggest misconception and struggle for not only business owners, but specifically marketing agency owners. Why do you feel like most agency owners have so much trouble stepping away from the day-to-day operations or getting to that point?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. And to be clear too, I love working. Like one of my favorite things to do is to run this company and to run this business. But I want to do it because I want to do it, not because I have to. And I think that's a big maybe difference in our minds here is how can we set up a business so it's a blessing and not a curse? How can we set it up so that it builds careers for other people, not just ourselves? And I'd say a big thing is letting go. A lot of times our ego gets in the way of thinking we're the only ones that can do it as good as we can, which is, it's the opposite, I would say, where if let's say Phaser's my baby, which I guess it could be, it is. Phaser's my baby. If I think that is true, if I want to preserve it and grow it and make sure it's taken care of, I have to get out of the way. Because if I'm stuck in the way and I'm the bottleneck for everything, I'm actually doing a disservice to what Phaser is and what it could be. And so I think realizing that you can't do it alone, you need to delegate and elevate within your company, but also you need systems, which it talks about this in the E-Myth Revisited. You need to build systems so that the people you bring in run the systems, not the other way around. You don't build your business based on the people you have. You build the systems first and then you plug the people in. And that took a little bit for me to fully understand. But once I started putting one system in place at a time and then hiring an A player to run that system, it changed everything. I started to see, okay, they're operating 10 times higher than what I could ever do. And then as we've grown in every division of our company, it's you see the value of having decision makers, having leadership, having people that are confident in what they're doing and why they're there in the position. So, and one other piece of advice I got when we started, hiring contractors and then full timers was, you can always train up one level, but that's it. So if you hire a B player, you could potentially train them up to be an A player. But if you hire a C player or a D player, the highest they're ever going to be is that one level up. And you always, no matter what, want to build your company with A players and thoroughbreds. And you want to surround yourself with thoroughbreds, not donkeys, I guess Dave Ramsey would say. And
you're always as strong as your weakest link. I mean, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's just, so having that in place to now I have a seat at our leadership table, and that's what it feels like. Like I'm an employee at Phaser, and really just trying to be the best manager of Phaser that I can and manage those resources and be a good steward of these resources. And man, we can go so much further as a group than we could if I just took the reins back and went all by myself again. So that was a big mission to really go further and thinking that we have more in this company. And I know that relinquishing some of that control was very important.
Yeah, and like you made a good point earlier. I mean, and the blessing of having the confidence to start and build and scale a business isn't always about the money. It's about building the team to get the time back as well. Time is like the biggest component and best reason to start an online business or a business in general. If you can create something that not only provides you income every month, but also allows you to step away and actually live and enjoy your life without working 50, 60, 70-hour weeks. So one of the things that like I personally see a lot of agency owners struggle with, as we already mentioned, is kind of building the team out and stepping away. It seems it is pretty common. A lot of people white label their services or hire contractors, subcontractors, but explain like who your first full-time hire was and why, or maybe what position you kind of needed to fill to maybe start going down that path and what you feel like their strengths were in your specific situation. Can you kind of tell us more about that? Maybe like how you kind of diagnosed it and figured out that you need to hire this specific person full-time to start going down the path of making it passive or more passive.
Yeah, so it's I almost want to answer that in two parts here because it could be a little misleading if I just go the one route. So what I had been taught is, which I fully back and am behind, is the order that you would want to hire in a marketing agency and probably most online businesses is fulfillment first. So you want to get out of fulfillment, like the actual doing of the work or of the service. The next would be the account management. So who's handling the communication between the clients? And of course, we'll just use marketing agency here. So account management would be that second hire. It's who is going to be managing those relationships. And then the third is like an executive assistant, a marketing assistant, and that could go in a different order, I could see, but really optimizing your time as the owner as well. And so the reason I say that is the order we did it when we white labeled, and that worked really well. So to paint the picture, let's say we have 10 clients. I need to serve these clients, and I can't do all the SEO and the web design and everything myself. So that's where white label is a great option, where it's like you can have a whole team nowadays and just go sell, and like they'll take care. They have all the operations, they have the systems built out. And then for anyone that's listening that's worked with white label for any amount of time, you know how important communication is, to make sure they're staying on top of it, to make sure you guys are on the same page, to make sure things are all getting done. And that's where that second hire would come in with the account management. So you got white label, now account management. I preferred in this role to get somebody on a contract role where it's like, hey, can't do 40 hours a week quite yet, but looking for somebody, and you can't hire based off age, of course, but somebody that is maybe in college, right out of college, somebody that's young and hungry, somebody that gets marketing and gets advertising and promotions. Maybe they're going for a marketing degree, but they also have the flexibility to not need health insurance, a full-time job, dental, like all this stuff. So what we did is in this second hire, we hired client success specialists, but they were in college. And so we just said, yep, I'll pay you $18 an hour, and we'll get you, sometimes 5 hours a month, sometimes 40 hours a month, but like way less than 40 hours a week. So they could keep their college job, they could still study, but then we had somebody that we can kind of rely on to handle a lot of these communications with not only the clients, but with our white label. And that took a ton of work off of my plate. And so what we did is we hired 3 that all knew each other, and it didn't all happen at the same time, but they all knew each other. And so they would trade off who was kind of, on call and who was ready to go and doing the work. And man, that was just such a great process, because it got us going when we were still a very small agency. It made us look a lot bigger than we were. Like we had a team, and it's just, I wasn't paying out $60K salaries to everyone. It was like, usually $500 a month per person, which to them was awesome. To me was awesome. I just paid them hourly. So as we went from fulfillment to then account management, and then
Actually, wait, Luke, can I pause you really quick there?
Yep.
One thing I do want to touch on, because that strategy, like finding, especially in your early days as a founder or business owner, you have to be creative. Like Luke said, you don't necessarily need someone that, costs 60, 70,000 a year. But to Luke's point, there are university students, college students who, yes, the money is good for them, but as a business owner and as someone with, a couple years more experience than them, if you can show them that you're going to be a good mentor and show them, the ropes of being in a marketing business, maybe how marketing businesses work, and really be a leader for them, that experience 90% of the time is worth double, if not triple, the actual amount you're paying them. So keep that in mind. Like if you're in your early days, you don't need to have a big budget to get people on your team or get help. Try to think of ways you can use your knowledge and expertise to give value to people that are maybe in college, the actual experience of being in a marketing business, the actual experience of being an entrepreneur and being in a startup. Like think of like creative ways like this to help your business get off the get-go in the early days when you don't have the money in the bank.
That's Brady. I appreciate bringing that up, and that's why I wanted to take that angle to make sure that we do have that creative problem solving for everyone listening, and we can't, because you can't afford, especially at that stage, a $60K salary or $50K salary, and then you think that's going to solve all your problems, but that's just one person, and you need more help from every other aspect of the business. So definitely the creative problem solving, utilizing white label if you can, utilizing contractors, and then jumping into like who is the first full-time hire. So for me, our first contractor we brought in that account management role, her name is Josie Sanford. She started working with us as a contractor as she was a sophomore in college. So she got to know the business, she got to know the clients. She'd worked with me for 2 years, and I knew of course, she was graduating. And so I said, hey, we might have the ability to potentially bring you on. I think I brought her on as an account manager, but she was definitely higher level than that at the time. I said, if we put something together and offer it to you, is that something you even want to do? And to your point, Brady, of mentioning, we've had the 2 years of the small business, the mentorship, all of this. And now it's like, hey, we might be in a spot where we could offer you a full-time job out of college. And that's exactly what we did. And that was in 2023. And she's now the COO of Phaser. And she makes a lot more than she did starting out. And when she got her first job offer, and then to today, and she's going to continue to make more and continue to lead our company. And so I just think it's finding the right people. And she actually just turned 25 today. So happy birthday, Josie. October 6th.
Happy
And
birthday, Josie.
25 years old, and gets to be on the ground floor of a company that's not as small as it used to be anymore. And so what a great opportunity, as you mentioned, Brady, where not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, but they can still handle a lot of upside being on the ground floor of a company like everyone listening, especially these digital brands.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of on that note as well, you've got a blend, or you've had a blend for the last 5-6 years of college students working for you. You've got full-time employees in the US, you've got contractors or full-time employees overseas. I want you to kind of talk about how you decide not only who to hire, but kind of how you choose between domestic or overseas employees and contractors. And then maybe just a little bit of like how you are picking which roles to fill based on, where they're from or where they're located.
Yeah. So for this one, this was a very fun, I guess you could say, discovery. Like everyone always talks about, I hire in the
I know where you're
Philippines
going right now.
Yeah. And everyone's always just saying like, oh, it's such a great thing. And I don't know, like I'm skeptical. I'm like, yeah, the construction industry, you don't understand, because we serve construction clients. And I just like, I don't know, you pay them half the price, you're going to get a quarter of the value for these people. And not that I actually thought that, but I think I was just a little worried. And so we had hired Josie full time. And then the next role, I was like, okay, I can't just hire another account manager full time, because we just can't afford it. And we need help elsewhere. And so as we looked at bringing things in house, we said, okay, what is our white label company doing currently? Can we replicate that and make it better? Like that was our starting point. Can we replicate it, make it a little bit better, and plug some team members in that can run that play, run that system? So what we did is we had to find an option that was kind of in the middle. Somebody that ideally is full-time. Like I didn't really want to do contractors anymore, because we're kind of a little bit more of a legit business. We did 7 figures. I'd like to get on an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday schedule, not having them work with a bunch of other clients. And so we found 2 companies that we still use today that I definitely want to give a shout out on here for. The first company was GoStaffy. So GoStaffy.com, a great friend of mine. We're in the same mastermind 7-figure agency. He built his agency. We actually built them together, and we hit 7 figures together, and we're kind of in the trenches together. And he built his agency with Colombian workforce, because he's from Colombia and has ties there. And then he learned that like, yeah, this is pretty nice because they're central time zone. They're a lot closer to the US, and there's definitely a big digital marketing push in Colombia. So anyway, he started this staffing agency, GoStaffy, and he was a bit newer, and I was like, how does this work? And could I try it? And I don't think he'll mind if I give some examples here, but just for everyone listening, where my head is at is, a full-time team member could be like $55K, $60K a year, and all the taxes and things that come with it. Where GoStaffy, it might be $2,000 per month or $2,500 per month, or somewhere in between there on my credit card. So the staffing agency handles the HR, the pay raising scale over the first year. They have training every week, optional training. They have SOPs if you need it. So for me, it's kind of like going back to the white label. It's like, man, this is great. So I have this huge support from an agency, but I get to use this team member full time in our agency. And it was just a great middle ground for us to go from white label to full time in house hire, but still technically, I don't have all the risk that can be associated with it. So, and then Brady, as we hired our first couple or our first two web devs, and this is the where we needed help, is like, okay, we need web dev and SEO in house. So we got somebody that
common challenge for agency owners.
Yep, for sure. And so we got somebody in house, and shout out to Matthias. He's with us a year and a half later. He specifically, and everyone we've hired, absolute weapon. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then culturally, just like vibe wise, they fit so well into our agency. I'm like, this is crazy. And then the more research you do, the more you realize like they're making great money for what we're paying them in their country. And so there's the level of like, you need to respect their culture and not just, throw $5,000 a month at them, but at the same time too, give them a great living and a great opportunity to make more with your company. But dude, I was blown away. So now we have, fast forward a year and a half, 8 full-time team members through GoStaffy, who are all through Colombia, and working with an agency that can kind of help you has been huge, because instead of the hundreds of applicants we'd have to sort through and interviews, we just do one. Anytime we say, hey, we're looking for a Go High Level specialist or an SEO specialist, they're like, Luke, we got you. Give us 2 weeks. We'll go through our applicants. We'll only send you somebody when we feel like, okay, Phaser is perfect for them, and vice versa. And that's what happens every time. We sit on the call, it's like a 15-minute interview, and we're like, this person's perfect, because of the vetting that they do as an agency. And then one other shout I want to give is RepStack. They're out of Pakistan. We use them. We hired a guy named Hassan, and call him Batman, and he's just been a weapon. So utilizing your creative resources, not just hiring what everyone tells you to hire full-time in the US. I was blown away by it. And now we have a good hybrid mix of a team that's all remote, 8 in the US, 8 in Colombia, 1 in Pakistan, 1 in Serbia, and then 3 contracted in the US. And I just think for us, it helped me financially, but it's also helped us build a pretty big badass team while still being profitable every single month.
Yeah, and you touched on something that's a really good point. That's another common misconception for marketing agency owners. I've been in the exact same position as you. What will my industry think if I'm hiring overseas workers instead of domestic? That's a very common concern or frustration that you might have kind of going through this thought process. I was in the exact same position, but these clients and these businesses that are in your industry, they're choosing you as the business owner to make those decisions for them. So ultimately, while it is important to have, someone representing the business in the US, that's really important for a lot of people. Ultimately, they're paying you to make those decisions for them. So when you hire overseas, it not only allows you to keep the business running and keep costs low, but ultimately that's going back to them, as you're able to charge them a more affordable retainer on their end. And, if you ever come across a client or a business that only wants to work with the US, that's a great option, but you just need to let them know, like, yeah, that's going to, double, maybe triple your rates, because that's going to require me to use only, our US or our US team for your operations. I think a lot of people have that fear of like, what are they going to think if I'm using overseas? But ultimately the benefit for them is you can keep all your services at cost to them as well. Or at a more affordable cost, that is. So definitely keep that in mind. Like, if that is a common fear or something you're thinking about, try to find a blend like Luke did of US employees in some spots, and then overseas, maybe in the spots that are a little bit more expensive, like SEO or web dev, where they're especially not client facing. Actually, that's a really good question though. Do you have any overseas workers that are client facing?
I was just going to bring that up. I'm so glad you did. We actually don't. And that's same thing. It's like, yeah, we'll have English speaking, first language, US based team members for all client facing activities. But as we started hiring team members to be more back end, web devs, web design, graphic design, marketing assistant, we're like, yeah, we can, yeah, we'll try it overseas. And I tell you what, we definitely have a couple team members that end up being client facing because they're that good, and our clients love them. We kind of softly introduce them through some projects, and it ends up they just crush it. And what I would say on that too, Brady, is I was skeptical first, and then when I've interviewed a lot of US based people, I've interviewed a lot of people that live overseas, and the talent gap, like your clients won't care when they see what product you put out there. And the talent gap, typically, from what I've seen, dollar for dollar, pound for pound, however you want to say it, is so much better overseas. And it depends on the role for sure, because we have 8 amazing US team members. And I'm not saying that people in the US don't want to work hard. I'm just saying you can find entitled people in any country. And that's, you need to make sure you're dialed in of who you're looking for and who you want to work with. But I have found zero correlation of going overseas and not finding good work ethic compared to the US. And so in some cases, it's been the opposite, where the work ethic and the talent that you can get from overseas, especially in our experience, Colombia, has been outstanding. And I would take a lot of those team members over people who aren't on our team that are based in the US that just think because they have a 4-year bachelor's degree, they deserve a high paying job. And that just isn't the case.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. So I want to phrase this right. So if you're trying to build a 6, 7, 8-figure marketing agency, what Luke is doing with Phaser is the exact blueprint and roadmap that you'd want to go after. Similar to what we talked about the Empire Flippers a few weeks ago. One is you want to build a brand, like Luke mentioned. Try to avoid building something around your name and a brand that's recognizable. Being industry specific not only can help you grow that much faster, but it makes it so much easier to scale up because you know the industry really well. You know the jargon, you know the language, you know pain points. And then third is building that team that allows you to step away as the client-facing advocate and really focus more with your team on strategy, growth, KPIs. And following all of that, plus there's a lot more, can allow you to not only build something that provides you an insane amount of income every month, but also allows you to eventually sell the business. When I spoke with Empire Flippers, they sold a marketing agency last month for $6.5 million. And it was the exact setup and roadmap as Luke has described. Luke, I know you've credited a lot of what you've built and a lot of the advice you've gotten to 7FA. I really want to hear you talk more about like when you started working with 7FA, how you heard about them, how it's kind of transformed your journey and maybe give you a different perspective on everything you've accomplished and learned on your own.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking about that, because besides Jesus Christ, like this 7FA like got us here, and it says this whole business journey, man. And so it was 2021, like if you remember, right when I went full time in Arizona, like I didn't know anything about business and marketing agencies. And so I reached out to a guy who owned a really cool company that I thought, he was in Tampa. I reached out to him on LinkedIn. His name is Tony Ricketts, and he owns a company called Online Marketing. Reached out to him and said, Tony, I love your stuff. It's really cool. I'm building an agency as well. I'm at like, $7K a month. Any tips would be appreciated, or any people to reach out to, because I was hungry. I was willing to do anything. And he said, all right, read this book and let me know what you think after it. And the book was The 7-Figure Agency Roadmap by Josh Nelson. I'm like, oh, sick. This is perfect. And it, like, the subtitle is something like how to grow your digital marketing agency to 7 figures in 12 or 24 months. I'm like, there you go. That couldn't have been more perfect. And so I read the book and I was like, dang, Josh puts everything, all the answers in the book. Like, it's not a catch-all, or it's not a trick or a gimmick. It's like, it's just all there. All you have to do is implement and start. So I read it, dude, and I was fired up. I was like, man, this is exactly what I want to be a part of. The people I want to meet, like, it's all right here. Like, he could have just titled the book to Luke, because everything was speaking to me. And I reached back out to Tony. I'm like, dude, thank you. Like, I feel like I'm getting so much from this book. He said, every 4 months they do this intensive where everyone comes together in person in Miami. There's like 250 marketing agency owners. If you want to come, let me know. You can be my guest. I'm like, I'm in. I didn't even think about it. I just said, I'm in. It was in November 2021. I fly to Miami. I'd never been to Miami. Didn't know a single person there besides Tony, who I sent 2 LinkedIn messages to. But it was one of the greatest trips I've ever been on. And I stayed up late having beers with everyone, learning. The sessions during the day were packed with speakers and a roadmap, and it just made so much sense. The mornings I would get up early and we'd hit the gym and I'd learn from people there. What I realized is nobody knows what they're doing. Everyone has shit they have to figure out. And whether they're at 10K a month or 550K a month, I'm like, man, what a cool place to be where you could just be yourself. People talked about money there. Like, it was just like, what's your name? Like, where are you at in business? Because they weren't judging you. They're trying to figure out like, oh, when I was at that stage, I ran into this. And from that point, so we had about a couple $1,000 in profit a month. And I think at the time to join the group is like $1,500 a month. So you can imagine flying back to Arizona, trying to discuss this with Olivia, saying it's not a cult. Like, hey, trust me, Liv, it's not a cult. It's $1,500 a month, but trust me, I think this is where I need to be, is around people that are doing what I want to do and that have already done it. And she's like, all right, you can do it. Try it, give it 3 months. But if you're not putting in enough to get out what you need, we'll change gears. We'll do something else. And since then, I've been to Miami 12 times. I'm now a 7-figure agency coach. I've met some of my greatest friends, mentors, inspirations, and just downright unbelievable people that have been where I've been, that are going where I want to go, and everything in between. And it's just been the most incredible experience to know that I'm not alone, and to have now 300 digital marketing agency owners in the group. It's been spectacular.
Wow, that's incredible. I can't emphasize how important it is, whether you're starting out going from 0 to 100,000 or 100,000 to 1,000,000, how important it is to find people like Tony in your life who maybe they're not even a mentor or a coach, but they just point you in the right direction of like the right resources. And that's always the biggest challenge, is like when you're learning and starting out, or when you're trying to go from 6 to 7 figures, like who do you trust? Who has the experience? Who has the credentials? But I can't emphasize how important it is to always have someone that's a couple steps ahead of you that you can trust on. They don't have to spend that much time with them, like just getting in the right direction. Like in that case, Tony gave you a book. He's like, I trust this resource. It worked for me. I know someone that wrote it. Like just simple stuff like that, like reaching out and networking can really change the trajectory of your life and the speed at which you grow your business.
Yeah. And the great part about that is he didn't even buy the book from me. Like, he just said, he's pointed at me and said, hey, Luke, I know exactly where you're at. Read this book. Let me know what you think. And the great part about all this, and Tony would say the same thing, like it's up to you. It's up to the person listening to this to take action. And so it's not on him, Tony. It's my success isn't on Tony at all. It's like, hey, he can just kind of bump me to one way, and then that's where the roadmap is. But you can jump off the road or you can jump off the bus, but the bus is going a direction that you want to go. So quit complaining when you're not going that direction when you jumped off the bus. And it's just such a great analogy, but also relationship of like, hey, here's what I did. It worked really well. And a lot of people have done it. You do you can run your own company, but if you want to do more, let me know. And that's all it takes sometimes, because really it's in you, the entrepreneur, that's going to make it happen no matter what group you're in, no matter the work you put in. A lot of times, like, we work hard and that's great, but we're not working hard in the right direction. So that roadmap to put you on, to just point you in that direction, is so, so important. So you're not just wasting calories on something that won't work in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if like you're in the shoes, or if you're in a spot where you feel like you do need some guidance or need to get pointed in the right direction, similar to how Luke reached out to Tony and how I actually found my version of Tony back when I first started, just be genuine, honest upfront when you reach out to people and try to network. but also most importantly, don't ask for a lot of their time. Like the way Luke phrased it, is there any direction you could point me in? Or similar to myself, when I had my Tony, I never tried to ask for time away from them. I just say, hey, like, here's where I'm at. Like any any advice or resources on what I could look into to kind of get the answers I need, and just be very conscious of their time, because they're 10, if not 100 times further ahead than you. They make, X amount more money. They have probably less time available than you, but just getting one message from them with like the right direction is all you need. And especially with like AI and ChatGPT, which Luke and I didn't have as much when we first started out, like you can basically have a full-time mentor or business coach at your fingertips for basically free at this point. So keep that in mind too. Like when you're first starting out, just be very conscious of who you're reaching out to. Try to get the lowest and least effort answer that's going to give you the most direction possible.
Oh, dude, I love that. And I want to expand on that a little bit because it's so true. Don't mass send on LinkedIn just like a sales pitch, and be personable, do some research on the person, listen to their podcast if they have one, and tell them that. And then, yeah, try and not say like, hey, do you have time where I can pick your brain? It's like it nails on a chalkboard for a lot of people. And for me, I love it because I truly love just talking to people, but it's very difficult when people are busy. So having a question and saying, hey, Brady, I checked out your podcast. Love what you're doing. Loved this episode you did. I've got an agency. I just started. I'm at about 12K MRR. I have a couple specific questions. Really could benefit from talking with you about it, or maybe unpacking on a quick call. Would something like that be like a potential option? And for me, if I see that, it's like, oh, this person knows who I am, and like, yeah, of course. And here's my Calendly link, and then booking through there instead of not setting up a recurring meeting or not setting up a mentorship program. It's like, let's get a specific question. And then usually that's where it leads into a bigger and better relationship, is through, how serious the person is on the other side of their questions they ask, how pointed it is, how specific it is. And then usually that's where you dive into the good rabbit holes of, anytime you work with a mentor, they want to see you win and they'll give you all the information they can. But a lot of times they're more skeptical at the beginning because everyone wants their time and everyone wants to pick their brain. And a lot of times it ends up being a sales call. It's like, how the heck did I even end up here? So just making sure you're pointed, you're personable. I love the LinkedIn outreach, but not like cold outreach. It's just being connected with somebody, sending them an actual message. And I've had my highest levels of success there by booking calls with people I really appreciated.
Awesome. Yeah, that's an extremely incredible advice. So, Luke, I know we're getting kind of close towards the end. There's two more things I really want to touch on. So, the biggest goal for most entrepreneurs, like we kind of talked about earlier, is not making 6, 7, 8 figures, but also getting your time back while still growing your business, hitting your KPIs, setting big goals and achieving them. Luke and Olivia recently took a 2-month trip while Luke was still able to run the business, but actually able to step away and let his team run without him. I can't express how difficult that is as a business owner, especially when you're only in your 5th or 6th year. And at such a young age, to be able to step away and trust your 18, 20 team members to run everything for you. Luke, I want you to talk about maybe how you got to that point and what your prep was before the 2-month trip. And then also what your workload was like while you were traveling on those 2 months.
Yeah, man. It's one of the greatest adventures we've ever been on. And for myself and my wife and a lot of entrepreneurs, that is what you're searching for, isn't it? Just more freedom and time to do whatever you want, even if that is work. And I hadn't mentioned it yet, but Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell, greatest book in history. Unbelievable. And, but you're right. There's a lot of, I guess you could say, prep work that went into me leaving. And basically for 2 months, from June 15th to August 15th, the only work I did for Phaser Marketing was I was on 3 L10s, so 3 leadership meetings with our team, which were 90 minutes apiece. I was going to be on 8. Every Wednesday we'd have one, but we were on a hike for two of those weeks with no service, and then we were in Japan the other 2 weeks, which is the time zones are absurd. So the 3 90-minute meetings just to check in and see how things are going and to go through our proper L10. But to get to that point, man, it was such a fun ride and such a fun journey, and it still is. And so this started early on, and I would go back as far as probably 2022. So I'm only like a year in, no full-time employees, so there's no excuses for people listening. I got married, and we got married in 2020, but we ended up going on a honeymoon in 2022. So it was 2 weeks. We went to Italy. We've been saving up like crazy for 2 years, and we brought our parents with, and so for half of it. And so when you're in Italy on your honeymoon, there's this expectation that you're probably not going to be doing a bunch of work and a bunch of calls and all this stuff. So for me, it was like, okay, how do I get the business to a point where I can leave for 10 business days, 2 weeks, and things won't fall apart? I knew they were going to fall apart a little bit, but how could I, get to that point? And so at the time, we spoke about it early. I always talk about it early. I always seed the vision early with at this time, my contractors and who are my team members. Hey, our honeymoon is in April. What do we need to do to help you feel comfortable to get to that point where you feel comfortable helping run the business? I'll be available, but it's not ideal if I'm on my honeymoon texting you guys late at night. So it's like, and of course they have your back, right? And they're like, yeah, Luke, do not sign in. And that's part of having a great team that cares. Luke, do not sign in. You're on your honeymoon. Go get it. And so started to implement a plan of, who answers when this text comes in, or who answers when this call comes in. Who do you go to fix this? And a lot of times we just have a team member step up and help there, but we'd have to talk about that before I left. So did 2 weeks, came back. It was all pretty good. Then scoot forward to last year. We had planned a trip to Norway, and I just wanted to keep this momentum going of, okay, 9 days, we're going to be in Norway. It's not my honeymoon. This is just a trip. How do we go and work on myself and work on the business and not work in the business? So then same thing. We just kind of elevated our team. We said, all right, who's in charge of operations? Who's in charge of client success? Who's in charge? We started to develop your org chart, and we started running on EOS as well, which really helped with our organization, which helped our clarity, our focus. So once we started with EOS and we just self-implemented, we read the book Traction by Gino Wickman, started implementing a scorecard so I could see how the business was doing if I was on a stranded island. We started having organized meetings, and we started developing, who's doing what when. And what that really helped us is that pushed me up into the visionary role as the entrepreneur, as the business owner. And then we had an integrator, which is Josie. And so Josie is the one that essentially runs the internal workings of the business, which is the integrator, and the visionary runs, where we're going in the future and the vision. And those are actually meant to be totally separate. And so as we decided to go to Norway, same thing. We had lots of planning and discussion about it 6 months before, and really empowering the team. Like, hey, this is our chance to step up. Are you sure you got this? And part of hiring A players is they want it. They're like, dude, you go. We got it taken care of. Don't worry about it. So then to come to this year, we wanted to take a 2-month trip where I wasn't working at all. And so the prep work, the systems, the foundation, running on EOS, starting to run like a true business, but then allowing our leaders to lead completely. Because when you're gone for 2 weeks, the boss is going to be back and he can make these decisions. When you're gone for 2 months, somebody has to make the call. And that is discussed between the leadership team that we just made and Josie. And so Josie is now running the company. She has the final say, because if Luke is out, she has to make a decision. So it really, really helped our leaders lead, and honestly, dude, skyrocket them into a whole nother level of leadership and team members. And they could have kept going. I could have gone for 4 months. They would have been totally fine. But being gone for that long, it helped me realize what I was doing that was a bottleneck. As an example for everyone listening, I was still, we were doing 120K a month. I was still collecting the credit card over the phone. And we're like, maybe somebody else on our team is capable of doing this. Of course they are. And so then if we knew I was gone for 2 months, then we just, okay, who's doing what while I'm gone? Perfectly delegated everything. And then when I came back, I no longer have those things on my plate. And so that is where my time is freed up even more to allow for coaching at the 7-figure agency, and then more podcasting, more business development, more interviews and podcasts like this, and just getting to do what I truly love, and then running the direction of phaser marketing, because now my head is 30,000 feet in the air. I can see everything very clearly because I'm not doing much of the internal stuff at all. So it is an absolute blessing, and very, very grateful we got to do that.
Yeah, that's definitely something every entrepreneur strives for, is the ability to still have their business running and have the trust in their leadership and their team while they're stepping away on vacation, they're honeymoon, wherever they're going. So
Yeah.
incredible kudos and props to you. That's a dream for most people. Like, it's not the money, it's the time. So
Thank you, man. Yeah, I just encourage anyone listening too. It's just, don't get so fixated on the revenue. Revenue. Yeah, you want to be focused on the profit. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity. And also taking care of your people, just building one fan at a time, whether that's your clients, people that support you, your team members, just making sure you treat every person as you want to be treated, build one fan at a time.
absolutely. I'll close it out. What's the best way for people to follow you, like, or stay in touch? I mean, I'll put it in the show notes, but just like a shout out too.
Yeah, I'd say definitely social media. So my Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and that is Luke Eggebraaten, but also the Phaser marketing channels. I manage those. So anytime somebody wants to shoot me a DM,
I'll get your handles and number and stuff. I'll put it, or email, whatever. I'll put it in the show notes. I just want to tell them to check out the description for the links and everything. I just want to make sure I understand what you're most active on.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest ones, there's many great pieces of advice, but one of the biggest ones is niche down. And if you niche down, when you think you've niche down further and serve that industry with as much time, resources, energy, everything you've got. And when you niche down, you're not going to see the success in the first couple of years. It's going to be a long-term play. So take care of your people, they'll take care of you, and then put the right people in your corner. Build a team, build a client base that also acts as your team, and never stray away from your core values. So you're hiring based on your core values, you're firing, you're also bringing on clients associated with your core values. Because when you can build a team that thinks similarly than you do, you have a path for success there. So just continue to build with the right people around you. And, don't be afraid to say no. One of the best things you can do is say no to things, say no to projects, say no to certain clients, say no to certain hires or shiny objects. Stay the course, niche down, and get her done.
I cannot emphasize how true that is, but also how difficult it is, especially in your early days when maybe you're not making the amount of profit you want and someone who comes by, shiny object syndrome. I mean, do what you got to do in the early days to stay afloat. But long term, picking a niche, knowing the pain points, the language, the jargon, being the best in that industry will not only help you charge higher rates than the generic industry, but also it's so much easier for referrals, speaking opportunities. I mean, Luke's spoken at a number of different excavation conferences about marketing, digital marketing strategies. And when you go up to the stage and you say you're a marketing agency for your specific niche, in Luke's case, the excavation industry, instantly people's ears perk, because a lot of people that work with other agencies have the frustration of having to explain how the industry works or what pain points their clients have. It really allows you to grow so much faster and justify potentially higher rates. So I can't emphasize what Luke's saying, how important it is to niche down, how much easier it's going to be to grow and scale when your whole team is focused on one specific industry.
Yeah, 100% agree, man. And like I mentioned, there's so many great pieces of advice, but that one just stuck with me, and I've seen it, we've lived it, and we've been with hundreds of other agencies that when they niche down and they keep it simple and they they're marketing problem solvers and not just a Facebook ads company for small businesses, like they will see success and really serve your industry. A lot of the things you do too isn't marketing related. So speaking, volunteering, doing things for your community, doing things for the industry. A lot of it is just educating, being there, making sure that you're a lighthouse and a resource and not just trying to sell everybody you talk to.
Awesome. Well, Luke, I cannot express how thankful I am that you were able to join for this last hour. Guys, if you have any interest in starting not just an online business or an agency, but a business that allows you to step away, be strategic, be a true business owner where you can not be in the weeds on every single thing, definitely give Luke a follow on social media. I'll link all of his social channels and the best way to follow him in the show notes. And if you're a marketing agency owner, don't fall for the misconception that you can't build a passive business. It's a very common frustration that I've seen among agency owners, that it's so hard to build what Luke's built. But if you can find the right coach, mentor program like 7FA, finding the right people that have done it, it's not as hard as you need to be. Just you need the right roadmap to get there. So Luke, again, I cannot thank you enough for joining. I'm excited to hear what questions, comments people have or what they maybe want to know more of. And, if we're lucky, maybe we get Luke back for a second episode because there's so much more we didn't cover, but so appreciative you can join.
Dude, I love it. Thank you, Brady, for having me on. Yeah, anytime anyone listening needs anything, shoot me a message. Brady, I would absolutely love to do another one sometime, and we'll just keep her going.
Awesome, man.